Test, test. Okay. All right. Brandon, you want to? Hey, Jordan is here. Have a seat. Nice to see you, Jordan. All right. Next up, we have Chad. Chad is my coach from CrossFit. I started CrossFit probably about a couple years ago when I had a lot of problems with my back and even a hand from office work. And Chad kind of cured me. Pretty much going to exercising every day. I don't feel any pains today. So Chad is co-owner of Synergy Strength and also boss Strength Institute here in town. So go ahead, Chad.
Perfect. All right, guys. First off, this is kind of cool. I've never been here before. This is really interesting. I probably can't waste too much time because I only got 20. But I would like to thank Alan for letting me come down and talk today. My talk is called strength versus aerobic function, which is probably not properly titled. So as we go through this, it'll make a little bit more sense. My main goal today is to discuss the difference between, or at least discuss the myth or the fallacy of aerobic conditioning, where most people think of that as the holy grail of fitness. I'm going to make the argument that strength training is much more valuable than is aerobic training. Okay. So first off, I would like just a quick audience participation. How many of you guys are physically active, meaning going to the gym on a regular basis? Okay. So of all those people that have their hands up, how many of you guys are doing aerobic training? Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's a difference between exercise and physical activity. So what I was discussing was exercise. For us, and we'll clarify a little later, physical activity is walking your dog, very, very low intensity things of that nature. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. I only got 15 minutes, man. Okay. All right. Of all those hands, how many of you guys are actively doing aerobic training? Okay. And then strength training, how many of you guys are doing strength training? Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, our kind of philosophy with regard to training, and this goes from our gym, Synergy Strength here in town, and also Boss Strength Institute. Quick kind of explanation of what Boss is. Boss is a collaboration of myself, Scotty Butcher from the University of Saskatchewan in College of Physiotherapy. We do a lot of research together. Actually, he primarily does the research. I just facilitate it. But we do research at our club, primarily for adults, high intensity interval training, and strength training in different populations, some diseased populations as well as just elderly populations. But our philosophy is this here. I'll give you a moment to read that. This is kind of our belief with regard to fitness and health. I also can probably warn you guys, I'm trying to talk very slow. Anyone in here that knows me knows I talk incredibly fast and I mumble. So if I miss something, you guys just throw your hand up and I'll repeat it. Okay, so our hypothesis. First off, like I mentioned earlier, aerobic fitness is not the holy grail of health or wellness. And that's primarily what I'm talking about here, not talking about sport or performance. I'm talking about health and wellness. Strength is a crucial aspect of the physical quality. That is life and sport and things of that nature. And then lastly, and this is straight out of kind of more the CrossFit realm, is that we don't believe in strength training muscles. We believe in strength training movements and movement patterns, okay? And what that means is we don't go to the gym and do bicep curls and tricep extensions and isolate muscle bodybuilding or hypertrophy work, not discounting that as not valuable. What we do is we're from more of a sporting perspective with regard to the way we train for health and wellness, which is we believe in movement patterns through squatting, deadlifting, pressing, bench press, and different rowing patterns. Those are our big five, and that primarily makes up everything that we do. So we're training, like I said, a movement pattern, not a muscle group. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to attack into limitations of aerobic training. Now, what I primarily have here is I have one major study. This is a part. This little talk is a part of a full day seminar that we do with Boss. So I've kind of just pulled a whole bunch of little things out of it. But we're going to start off with one study that was done looking at different aerobic training limitations and mortality. So our key points that we're going to cover here. You'll notice the word HIIT and strength. That they are superior, or if not equal to aerobic training for most physiological benefits that we're looking for. Does anyone here not know what HIIT is? Okay, so HIIT is high intensity interval training, and that's what we do a lot of research on. So imagine doing about 1 minute of maximal effort and work, and then resting for 3. Okay, and then you just do repeated bouts of that. So a good example would be sprint training, hill training. A lot of aerobic athletes do. That would be considered HIIT training. And then strength training, of course, for us is in the gym, moving the weights around. My thing died. Oh, there it is. And then next. We already talked about that, but the neat part is that strength training and anaerobic training are just as beneficial as aerobic training with regard to improving aerobic fitness for new trainees. And that's actually really, really important. So when we started the gym, most people think of going to the gym and starting off with running, getting into lower intensity activities. Our argument is the exact opposite. Go get involved in strength training, learn how to strength train properly, and you're going to receive the exact same benefits aerobically as aerobic training can give you. Another limitation to aerobic training would just be the simple fact: in order to continue to get performance or improvements in your work capacity, the volume has to get very, very high. Okay, and I'm going to go into some slides a little later as to explaining that. Also, most people don't think of this way when they hear. How many of you guys have heard of CrossFit? Can you throw your hands up real quick? Okay, so that's excellent. What is the highest injury sport out there is actually running, and most people don't believe that. The highest injury sport out there of all, other than maybe grade 9, 10 girls, basketball and volleyball, is actually running. Okay, so musculoskeletal injuries, cardiovascular risk, things like that. Highest risk of injury is in running. So that's not the fallacies that most people don't understand, is that aerobic conditioning. What I mean by aerobic conditioning, again, maybe I should have clarified first, is what I'm talking about is steady state running, steady state rowing, anything long durations and monostructural in nature. Is very, very high. Yeah, I think the number in the study was done in 1 year of training. 70% of individuals will have some sort of injury. I don't know what the study was done in. Most likely North America. What's it? Yeah, I can't speak to the exact study where the population came from. I would imagine it'd be North America though. Okay, so like I said, this comes from a study with 58,000 people partaking in it, and this is the hazard ratio of all-cause mortality by running. So this graph right here, is there a pointer on here? There it is, right there. That one right there is the non-runner, and this is the runner. So again, I have to clarify with regard to my talk, I'm not saying running is bad. I'm not saying aerobic conditioning is bad. It actually states that you have a 19% better chance of not dying of a heart attack or any issues if you are running. So just in case, I should have clarified that earlier. There is nothing wrong with running. There's nothing wrong with aerobic conditioning. We're just going to talk about some of the limitations of it and then how that pertains to strength training. So if you're a runner, you're better off. Okay, and that's the same conversation I had with someone over there, is that doing something is better than nothing, and that's kind of where this comes in. And later on, we're going to get into the fact that something should be the most bang for your buck versus something that's going to take a long period of time for the activity or for the person to do. So the next one is then the same study, hazard ratio of all-cause mortality with running distances. So this goes into looking at, again, 0 here being the reference of the non-runner, or sorry, the non-runner, and then looking at the distance at which they ran in miles per week and what the cause of mortality was. So here you can see it running more than 25 miles per week. Whoops, what did I do? 5% decrease. So the kind of sweet spot here is right in here, that 10 to about 20 miles per week. Now, for most people, they look at that and they go, well, that's actually quite a bit. I wouldn't normally run that. In most endurance circles with regard to marathon, half marathon, that's a light training week for most people. Okay, so that's kind of the sweet spot for decreasing all-cause mortality. And that's, again, for volume or miles. The next one goes into running frequency. So then we look at how often you're running per week. So 0 through 7. Peak twice a week, and then you can kind of see from almost 1 all the way to 5 is exactly the same, slight increase. But as you start getting into those longer durations, you start getting into the higher frequency, the all-cause mortality starts decreasing, okay, or increasing, I guess. Okay, so sweet spot's right in that 2 to 3. And then running speed comes into play. So now you start looking at how fast they're actually running while they're doing these training bouts. And again, you look at the sweet spot, anywhere between 7 miles down to around 6. That's the peak in what they were looking at here. But as you start getting over 8 miles per hour in your running speeds, again, you're losing some of the health benefits of what you're doing. And again, for the most part, if you think about this, this is primarily going to be the sport aerobic activity people. Okay, like I said, the half and full marathon people, things of that nature. Okay, so and again, this is kind of just a brief review of what we just talked about, but the study had 52,000 people involved in it, non-runners and runners, and they found that runners had a 19% lower adjusted mortality, and that was that very first slide I put up. But what they really found was that if you want to get health benefits, you should be running less than 20 miles per week, less than 6 times per week, and less than 8 miles per hour while you're doing these activities. Okay. Again, then looking at this, I believe this was a different study, but they're looking at basically the risk of looking at where ideal exercise is and what the amount of it is. And this is very much a sliding scale as to what exactly. I think it's constantly moving with the more research that we get in and the more information that we get in. But there's kind of a inverse curve here as to where the ideal amount of exercise is for performance, and then also with regard to risk of cardiovascular events, which is this one here was. So, like I said, it's kind of moving around a little bit. Is that me?
No, it's the HDMI.
Oh, okay, sorry. So again, at the end of the day, the kind of main point here is that less volume actually equals less risk with regard to aerobic training, all right? So, and that doesn't mean the less you do, the better, just not that extreme end of the aerobic conditioning. Then it goes into kind of where this slide is going to come up a little bit later about what is fitness or how fit is fit, okay? And realistically for the mortality rates, this is kind of where we want to sit. And this is a scale of METs, so metabolic equivalent task. It's just something that's used in research, and then relative risk of mortality. So it's right around there, 10 to 12. That's considered the best spot to be sitting with regard to improving your health and wellness. Now that slide later, I think it comes up a little bit later, yeah, as to what that actually means in fitness, because that doesn't really mean a lot to anyone when they look at that number. It's like, what does that mean? Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later as to what that actually requires and what the prescription would be. Says what I just said. Then the relevance of strength training. So we're going to kind of leave the aerobic side for a second, go into strength training. Okay. This is kind of one of the main points here that we try and make in most of our talks when we're going is why heavy strengthening. A lot of people pull away from heavy strength training, and we believe it's actually one of the things that you should be doing the most of. And the reason is if you come in and just imagine an example that your absolute strength, you're picking up, what would something you guys would be doing in life? Picking up I don't know, something you're working in the yard, you have to pick up something that's 80 pounds, but your best deadlift, so picking something off the floor is 100. You're working at 80% of your max intensity. Does that make sense? So if you can pick up something that's 100 pounds and it's 80, you're working at 80%. If we can improve that up to 200, or I guess it'd be 160 in this case, that'd be 50%. You're doing less work to get things done, okay? So strength is in fact valuable. And if you look at this more so from the standpoint of mortality, longevity, independence, this is very, very important. So at our club, we work with multiple different groups. We work with juniors, and we also have a master's program. This is really a big point for us that we're trying to get across to them. If you look at injury rates or the lessening the chance of falls and recovery rates, strength is a primary concern. So a lot of times we get into balance and aerobic function. It's not the predictor. It's strength. You need strength, okay, to fight off those things. Here's why strength is important. Maybe not the best video to express, right? But it's kind of cute. Okay, all right, so you'll watch that a few times. I think you'll watch that 100 times. It never gets old. Okay. This is actually my business partner that put that in there. You guys might be more into this than I am, but is that the Lord of the Ring guys? Is that who that is? Yeah. Okay. All right. I just didn't take it out, so I don't know who that is. Okay. So relevance of strength with proper strength training, you have an increased health markers or enhanced health markers, reduced mortality rate, improved cardiovascular fitness and health, improved functional performance, successful aging. And that's what I was talking about earlier with prevention of disease and independence. Injury prevention, rehabilitation. You're gonna rehab faster from most things if you have any kind of issues or surgeries you have to go through. Enhancements of movement mechanics as well, and that's a big one for longevity. So then when we go through this one's a little hard to see, but it's just a neat little slide where you look at aerobic exercise up here. and resistance training and the benefits of all these different things that you're going to get. Obviously, the larger the more amounts of arrows down or up is benefit. So you got total body fat loss, intra-abdominal fat, lean body mass, weight, body weight, all these different restrictions, all these different things. Most of these you're going to see improvements with strength training equal to aerobic exercise to some degree. And also here it just kind of notes that a lot of the ones that aren't, so total body fat, if you're trying to lose weight, aerobic training is a little bit better than resistance training. Kind of quick little asterisk that has to go with this though is that most of the research done on resistance training is not done through the type of resistance training that we're talking about. It's very much 3 sets of 10 bicep curls or 3 sets of 10 tricep extensions, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about whole body movements, much more metabolic movements. So I think these next few here would be altered. But point being is that most of the benefits you get from especially starting an exercise program are going to be the same with strength training as they are with aerobic training. Okay. This one study done with men. Most of the stuff was done with leg press and bench press as their tests. So they controlled age, alcohol, smoking, and aerobic fitness, and they found those under 50 and over 50. There was a 23 to 32% increase risk when you were weaker, and maybe not the best term, but when you were weaker versus stronger. Okay. And then the qualifications of what does weak mean, we start getting into, one more slide. This is actually from a COPD study looking at quadricep strength versus lung function. And they found that actually quadricep strength was a better indicator of health and longevity than was lung function. I'm going to be quickly running out of time here, Alan, so I'll try and speed up. So in this study, they looked at fit and unfit individuals, and then also strength. So lower strength, middle strength, upper strength, and it will qualify us later. And then unfit and fit. Neat things here is that if you had good cardiovascular fitness but low strength, you were at just as much risk as if you were having high levels of strength but were unfit. Okay. So again, strength being very, very important. Actually, that last one was the last one there. Compound effect of cardiovascular fitness on strength. So getting more cardiovascular fitness did nothing more for you. Okay, it just is a compounding effect with the strength training. Okay, so how fit is fit and how strong is strong. Now, these numbers right here, each one of these things, these are all different studies that were done looking at what was requirements for when they looked at the mortality rates and disease rates for people. So this was low, high, moderate and high benefits. So when you go through this was bench press, BP, leg, and then leg strength. So what they were looking for in this study, so 1.1 kilograms per kilogram body weight would be your bench press. And I would argue that most people in here would not have that unless you are actually training your bench press. And leg press is probably a bad example. I would have loved to have seen that been a barbell squat or something more practical than a leg press. But in most of these, they're looking for almost double your body weight on a leg press for strength values to be considered beneficial. And then when you go, how fit is fit? So what they're looking for is anywhere from the lowest was 34, but the average was up in here in this 40 to 42 milliliters per kilogram of per minute, which is VO2 max score, which goes back to that original slide I had earlier, which was right here, the METs. This right here, 10 to 12 METs is equal to 35 to 42 VO2 from this one. So what does it take to have this kind of fitness? It doesn't take a lot. Okay. When let's skip the slide here. It usually, with regard to achieving this level of a VO2 max, walking your dog 30 to 60 minutes twice a week would probably allow that for most people. So again, from a health and wellness perspective, you don't need a lot of aerobic training to get the health benefits out of it. Okay. But for strength training, if you go back to some of these slides, like I said, most people would not have these numbers, and these take longer time to get. So your time spent should be spent on these things versus these things here. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So I know I'm going a little quick. So our kind of prescription for this is this right here. We believe most time should be spent on low intensity physical activity. And this is what we call physical activity with regard to like a very, very slow walk, walking the dogs, going out, doing activity of very, very low intensity, not a 5K run, not a 10K run. That would fit into this one, middle intensity, steady state training. And then the rest of your time should be spent in the strength and or HIIT training, so sprint training or strength training inside the gym. These are the two areas in which you should be living in. This one right here, this red zone, should be something that we're actually going to be pushing away from. We're not going to want to spend a lot of time in that zone unless you are only an endurance athlete. You got to spend some time there. Okay. Big picture recommendations. I think I just said all the stuff here. And no time. So I'll leave you with that quote.
All right. Do we have any questions for Chad?
So I'm somebody that's probably in that missed triangle. Like I like to cross country ski, maybe for a long time at kind of an endurance level. Like what can I do if I'm into stuff like that that is generally considered aerobic?
Yeah.
If I'm a swimmer or a long distance runner, like
Yep.
more interval training or just
So
higher
one of the
intensity?
things that I really enjoy is if you look at some of the Norwegian studies that have been coming out for how they train for mostly cross-country skiing and biathlon is where most of the stuff comes from, but they use what's called a polarized method. So they actually spend much of their time doing very, very low intensity out doing their skiing or whatever they're doing depending on the season. And then they do some very, very high sprint stuff. So they spend a lot of time, they'll go through different phases of very high amounts of sprint activity. Sorry. Okay. Very high amounts of sprint activity. So doing different interval variations like you were talking about as their majority of their training, and then only doing 1 or 2 times a week with very, very low intensity training. And you can make that happen with inside of any of those sports. The neat thing too is if you go back to what I was talking about earlier, you want to kind of look at also what the volume is you're doing. And I think a lot of people when we make these points, they instantly think that I'm trying to say aerobic training is bad, and that's not necessarily my point. It's just to what degree you're doing it. Okay, I am making an argument though. If you're a marathon runner or an ultra athlete, you are losing some of the health benefits that are coming with the aerobic training. So if we're arguing that that's health and wellness, I think that's inappropriate. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. One more question.
You got to hold the ball.
Where's the microphone? Right there? Okay. So where would yoga fit into this? Because I used to do like ridiculously heavy weights and like I hurt myself all the time. And like that's just being stupid and young and not knowing how to work out
I'm glad you clarified
perfectly. But like, no, seriously, like that's how most people work out though. But like, that's how most people work out is they don't know exactly what they're doing and they're doing it to,
There's these
grow.
great places in town. One of them is Synergy Strength. You can come talk to the guys there. They'll help you learn how to do all those things. Focus on mechanics. You got to have mechanics. You got to have consistency with those mechanics. Then you can add intensity. Most of the young guys add the intensity, go the opposite way, right?
Okay, well,
but going back to your question of yoga.
No,
though,
my point is
Yeah.
yoga really like got the whole body going, and
Yep.
I found it really strength-wise. So where on that triangle would you say that fits?
I think yoga fit, and this is just my opinion, but I think it fits now the bottom one. Now it depends on what you're doing in yoga.
I don't think it fits in the bottom one.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. And again, I don't know much
a
about.
good Ashtanga yoga.
I'm gonna have to be honest. I
Kevin.
don't know much about yoga, so that's a little bit out for me. That's not my area of expertise by any means. But if you're talking about stretching fits in the like from a standpoint of like a yin style or something like that. Or as far as I know about yin style, it's gonna fit in the bottom. Now, if you start doing flows with handstands and all that kind of stuff, you're right. That's completely different. I would argue that's in the top end of strength, but it
Okay,
really
that's
depends on
what
what
I-
you're doing in those sessions.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That, like,
Because I think you start. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just curious as to where you would say that would fit in the.
Well, I think the
whole-
higher end of yoga starts to look more like gymnastics, which is the absolute pinnacle of that pyramid for power output and things like that.
Okay.
Is that me?
Going on with the-
No. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, sure.
That was great. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to move right into yoga with Kevin right here. Kevin Naidu is actually a yogi from a class right here, Yarama Yogic Sanctuary, right next to Vendasta. This is a place where we go every lunch on Wednesday, Tuesdays, and Thursday mornings with Kevin. So Kevin, I'm just going to put I'm going to put really quickly mic on you, and then you can just go right in. I think so. Yeah. Jason? Okay.
All good? Hi, everyone. How are we? All good? Okay, perfect. My name is Kevin. I own a studio just around the corner, Yarma Yoga Sanctuary. I've been practicing for well over 10 years. Every day, I'm up at 4 a.m. at the studio by 5 a.m. every day. So I wanted just to talk about the importance of wellness and how we can bring longevity into the workplace by just correcting things instead of sitting at a desk, especially when we're sitting at a desk all day. But I want to talk about a couple things. First thing, it's a yoga term. I don't know if everyone knows it. It's called Santosha. Santosha, inner contentment, inner joy without having any external experiences affect it. So keeping that quietness, that softness inside, that joy that we all have, regardless if someone's pissing you off down the road or you're in a meeting with and someone's pushing your buttons, and not having yourself react, but just having yourself stop and observe what your thought is at that moment. And just to stop, because we all have that tendency to react, and it's our go-to, myself included a lot. And I think it's something we all need to work towards, but just finding that inner contentment with that. If we all have that inner joy, we can take so much stress out of our workplace and just carry it on like that. So inner contentment leads into self-care. Self-care. We all lead these busy lives. We all take care of so many people. Who do we forget? We forget about ourselves. We take care of our kids. We take care of our family. We barely take care of ourselves. So by just taking a bit of time for that self-care, we can fill ourselves up so we can continue to serve. We continue to serve our families, our friends, our communities, our coworkers, our planet, just by having that little bit of time for ourselves. We all have this tendency by leading these lives that we stack and stack and stack. We don't want to deal with things, so we stack, and we stack them all in that low belly, and it brings confusion. But for us to just stop and just be present with ourselves for 5 minutes, all that has to look like. It doesn't have to look like running to the gym for an hour, even if we don't have a time, or running to a yoga class for an hour if you don't have time. Just stopping to take 5 minutes to just be present with yourself. Just stop and be present, to sit, to observe, to listen, to feel, to allow. If we can just stop and have that, we can just all be mellow. We all be nice and soft and mellow, but just allowing ourselves that time. I think it often gets misjointed sometimes, where we feel like we need to serve and serve and serve and serve, but we need to allow ourselves to receive at the same time, because we're going to fill ourselves up by receiving, but we're also going to have the other person that's trying to serve us fulfill what they're trying to do, which is trying to serve someone else too. So it's bringing a balance. So I really believe that just taking that time and self-care. So how that's going to look, like even in a workplace or even at a office, even if it's a small quarters office, finding a little space, even if it's a foot little space where you can put something that you connect to. Maybe it's a stone, maybe it's a crystal, maybe it's a picture of your mom or your husband or wife, or somewhere you can just stop and just ground and just drop out of everything that's around and just drop inside and just sit and observe your thought without reacting. We all get attached to these thoughts that pop up in our head all day long, but if we stop and not attach and just become present and just observe that thought instead of reacting, how mellow will all of us be? We'll all be nice and chill. We'll all be just a mellow yogi walking down the street. I still have my days, but it's all a practice, right? It's all a practice. So just with wellness, so we're all our worst critic, and we can get so down on ourselves if we forget to go to the gym or forget to go to yoga class or forget to do this and that. But it's okay. It's all okay. Life gets in the way sometimes. Life throws us curves sometimes, but just stopping. We all have 5 minutes to stop and to look. We all have that tendency to not want to stop and look because we're scared to look what's down there stacked and stacked and stacked, because that makes us want to have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to be honest with ourselves of all those things we haven't wanted to deal with. So just by that, we're clearing space. What's that space for? To invite anything you're wanting to bring into your life. Anything you're wanting to bring in, but anything you're trying to bring in, if this is all blocked and closed, it's filled up with stuff that you don't need, that's not serving you, everything is not going to come, right? It's not all going to come. It's not all going to be at hand's reach. So just allowing yourself to be honest. And when you're honest, it's going to bring up emotion. Like, I've bawled my eyes out in every single training I've ever done in my life with 100 people in the room. And just but I'll own it. I'll cry and I'll bawl my eyes out and I'll own it, and I'm okay with that. It's okay. So just allow emotion to come up if emotion's coming up, because just by stopping that, you're stopping a flow of energy as well, and you're bringing a blockage. We all think of our bodies on a physical level, but we need to start thinking about on an energetical level too. We have all these energy lines in our body. We have all these chakras in our body, and sometimes it's not a physical ailment. Sometimes it's a blockage energetically in our body that's bringing us pain or uncomfortability. So we need to shift that focus. And we all have that tendency just to think physical, but there's this whole other side to it. So we need to look at the whole picture. So when I was talking about a nice quiet space, so I'm talking about like an altar. Altar doesn't have to look like anything. It can look like a rock you found in the river that you really resonated with, sitting there. But just somewhere you can sit and just sit down and just close your eyes and be present and just drop inside. There's lots of different ways we can drop inside, but the first thing we need to do is just be honest with ourselves and not let any of these external experiences affect any of our joy, any of our happiness. We all have a gift. Every one of us has a gift in this room. Sometimes we're afraid to stand in and step into that gift. But when we allow ourselves to step into that gift, that brings us to our authentic self. Who else are we going to be besides our authentic self? I don't want anyone to ever have to edit their words or have to watch their words in company of anyone. You should always just be able to speak freely whatever is in your head without having to think about, okay, what am I going to say here? I have to calculate it out because this is so-and-so or this is so-and-so, but just allowing yourself to freely speak openly, whatever is going on. No edits means your authentic self. And that's all you want to do is shine your authentic light to this world. That's accessing your gifts and allowing it to shine. So if you need a place to do that, you just come down to the studio and just hang out. It's all mellow. If you just want to lie on your mat and do Shavasana and hang out, that's okay too. I'm not going to come and slap your hand. It's all okay. We're going to get interactive though, and we're going to do a little postures today. So everyone's going to stand up too. So I'm going to show you something that most of you sit at desks all day. So by sitting at a desk and having this hunch going on all the time, we're bringing that, like that hump into our spine. That's going to come as the years go, and it's bringing our spine out of alignment, but just taking a little bit of time. This is like 7 minutes. If you can have 7 minutes when you're sitting at a desk, just to stop and do this, it's going to save your shoulders. It's going to save your neck. It's going to bring your alignment in your body back to center. So stand up. Bring your feet together. Okay, now tuck your tailbone, take away your back bend. Your shoulders are going to be screaming just a little bit, but it's good pain. Okay, as you inhale, float your arms. As you do, lift your hips. Interlace your fingers, reach inner palms to the sky, stretch. I hear the crackles already. Exhale, spread your wings, come down by the side. Same movement. Inhale, float it up. Lift your hips, interlace, stretch, growing tall. Yoga makes you taller. I'm not joking. Exhale, stretch, let it go. I grew 2 inches since I started practicing. Inhale, float it up, lift your hips. Interlace, reach inner palms high. Now fingers to the sky. Exhale, touch each shoulder blade. Now bring your elbows to the sky, drop your gaze to the floor. Stay, breathe. Not breathing through the mouth, you're breathing through your nose. Why breathe through your nose? All those hairs in our nose, they filter your air. They're cleaning your air as it comes in. They're cleaning your air as it goes out. If you're breathing through your mouth and you're walking up an incline, you're going to get that huffing and puffing going all the time. If you're walking up an incline, you're breathing through your nose, it's not going to happen. You're going to be able to do that all day. Inhale, stretch inner palms up to the sky, reach. Exhale, wide, spread the wings. Next movement, inhale, same movement. Up, interlace, reach. Fingers to the sky. Exhale, cross arms, opposite shoulder blades. Elbows up, drop your gaze to the floor. Why do we have our gaze at the floor? Because we need a one-pointed focus. We have one-pointed focus. It allows us to drop out of our head, allows us to drop inside and connect with ourselves. Keep the breath going. We all have a tendency to breathe from this low belly. We have all this space. We have our lower lungs, our middle lungs, our upper lungs. Use this space. On your inhale, interlace your palms, reach up to the sky, stretch. Exhale wide. Next movement, inhale, float your arms, lift your hips, interlace, reach. Exhale, bend your elbows, bring your palms behind the crown of the head, expand the chest, drop the gaze to the floor, staying here. Feeling your shoulders, bringing a little audible sound in your exhale. So after your inhale, contract the base of your throat. So when I say contract, when you're a little kid, you're fogging up a window in school, same the back of your throat to allow the exhale to sound soft and audible. On your inhale, interlace, inner palms high. Exhale wide. A little into the back. Inhale, float the arms, lift the hips. Interlace, reach. Fingers to the sky. Exhale, lean back. Open your arms. Shine your heart. Coming up to standing, palms up as an offering. Reverse it. Lean back. Full extension through the shoulders. Interlace, stand tall. Exhale, arms ahead, palms down. End of your exhale, take it wide. Stay here on your inhale. On your exhale, turn to the right. Take your gaze over your right shoulder. Gaze right over that right shoulder. This is a twist. So what's a twist for? We're detoxing the body. We're clearing impurities that we don't need. 2 more breaths. Bring those shoulders up. Good job. 1 more breath. Inhale to center. Exhale left. Take your gaze right over your left shoulder. Gaze over left shoulder. 1 more breath. Inhale to center. Exhale, release. Next movement, opening up side body. Inhale, float your arms, lift your hips. Interlace, reach inner palms. Exhale, arms to the right, hips to the left. Look straight ahead. Find a short inhale, long exhale. Use the weight of your body to create space right through side body. Keep the breath alive. Breath more important than any of these postures. We need that breath. We need to use that breath. 1 more breath. Noticing how different each side brings. Our right side is our masculine side of the body. Our left sides are feminine. So really get introspective. Notice the difference. Inhale to center. Exhale left, hips right. Keep pressing away through those inner palms. Short inhale, long exhale. Mouth is sealed. 2 more breaths. Inhale to center. Exhale wide. 1 more action. Inhale, float your arms. Your shoulders are burning, I know. Interlace, reach. Exhale, bend your knees. Drop your hips. Stay right here. Keep pressing inner palms away. Now your inner thighs are spiraling inwards towards each other, rotating inwards. Good job. Lean into your heels. Press your tail back. Soften your jaw. Take that fight away. Find softness and ease. We're going to stay all day. 3 more breaths. My breaths, not yours. 2 more breaths. 1 more. Inhale, stand tall, reach inner palms high. Exhale, wide. Roll those shoulders right up to your ears. Take them back, drop them down. Reverse that, roll them from back body up to front, drop them down. Good job, you can sit down. A little bit of sweat, how are our shoulders? All good? So just that little bit of action. If you're sitting at your desk all day, just take that 5-7 minutes, whatever that was, and just stop and find that movement. You're gonna bring your spine right back in alignment. You're never gonna have any shoulder issues if you do that every single day. Cool? Thank you, everyone. One love, namaste.
This was our last talk. Do we have any questions for Kevin?
I don't have a question for you. I only wish if you manage to come to this company more often, because this was very nice during our work day.
You don't have to be flexible. I seriously, I couldn't touch my knees when I started.
I feel like a Rough Rider. I caught that one though. Am I going to be stiff tomorrow after all this exercise?
Might just be a little bit sore, but it'll be a good sore, right? It's a good thing. Like when you get a tattoo, it's a good thing.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let me see if I can do this.
Hey, Kevin, I missed your classes. I broke my foot at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
Can I still come and get something out of your class?
Yeah, you can.
You gonna
You
custom
come talk to
something up for
before
me?
class and I'll sort you out.
Perfect.
Done.
Anybody else?
If we wanted to come see Kevin's class, what days you're on and how do we go with your
So I'm there every day. I'm there 5 a.m. every day.
Where?
Right downtown 21st Street where Taverna Restaurant is, right above Taverna Restaurant. There's a staircase right beside, just come up to the top. You don't have to bring anything, everything's supplied in my studio. Mats, blocks, props, everything. You don't need to bring a thing. So we'll just modify, if you're brand new or if you've been doing it for 10 years, we'll modify it, we'll make it work. And I'm usually there every day. I fly to Vancouver usually every 3 weeks to teach stuff out there, but I'm usually here at least 2.5 weeks a month, 3 weeks a month. I have other teachers too in there also.
All right. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you all the other guest speakers. This is it for tonight. But we have lots of beer left, and I think there's some snacks. So please. Oh yes, and then what we're going to do before everybody goes, we're going to do draw a 50-50. Yeah, Jeff, can you get everybody? Yeah. Do you know how much we have?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make a quick count.
I'll get an approximate. It's a lot. Get us a bowl, we'll tumble it out. Should we draw out some pumpkins?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think so.
You're not grossed out.
That's 220.
That's about, well, it's about 50.
I'm so stretched out. No, I was drinking there. No, I walked to the bathroom. That's all I was doing it. Like,
Do you often go to yoga to this guy?
Sorry?
Do you personally often go to yoga to this guy?
Yeah, I go every either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh yeah, this is a great guy.
Yeah, we do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning.
she gone. I'm not Chinese.
Did you get everybody? Okay. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to. I think we have around $250.
Over about 280.
Just about 280, I think. So so this draw is for half of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one draw. We're going to read it and we're going to count to 10. If we're not going to get anybody, so this is why it's important that everybody hears us, even in the Skype out there. If nobody claims it, then we're going to make another draw. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Nikki.
All right, ticket number 16841118.
Yeah, Brandon is not allowed to win.
Let's see.
Okay, check it.
What's your, now tell us your name and what you're going to do.
Yeah,
with the
so
money.
now you have to talk for 20 minutes. No, just kidding. But you have to tell us who you are. And
What we're going to do with the money?
yes, well, you're going to get half.
Oh, yeah.
No, you do whatever you want with the money. You can do whatever you want.
My name is Galen Richardson. I'm a lawyer actually from McKercher, which is just down the street here. We come here from time to time. We like to crash your parties. It's always a good time. I have two other lawyers here, Dave and Matthew. Wave, guys. What's the charity for?
This is for Saskatoon Crisis Institute.
Okay. Yeah. On behalf of McKercher, we'll just give the money back to the charity, I guess, eh? And you guys just keep the rest? Yeah.
Right on. Really good. That's really good. Very nice of you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. The next Ideas on Top will be sometime next month. So please keep your eyes open on Facebook mostly. Thank you. All right.
I'll just give Tabitha all this money right now, or do we want to wait and give her a check?
No. You just give it a
cash? Okay, awesome.
What did you like it?
I'm not sure yoga, I'm not sure heels.
I know, I was starting to get sweaty.